All right, now my web app called Creative app is created and it looks like there's a typo here. All right, so I'll just ignore that typo at this moment and continue with the demonstration of web app. So let's say my app called Creative app is ready, and what I want to show you is the auto scaling feature. So in continuation with the previous lessons, we were talking about scale out and scale up. So once your app is created in your lab environment, I suggest that you scroll down, and under settings section you will see something called scale up and scale out. If you click on scale up, we discussed about this and we did say that if you want to increase the specifications of your app service plan, then you would like to scale up. Now, when I was creating the web application, I did select B1. But at any point in time, let's say you would like to switch to production under P3V2, you got to select that and click on apply. So you will get all of these features that P3V2 has along with the compute power that P3V2 provides, which looks like it is 14 gigs DV2 series of compute equivalent and 840 total ACUs. So we don't have to memorize these, but just remember that you can switch between these options available, and not just these premium options. Remember, we got these standard options as well. So don't forget to click on these other recommended options. There's a small hyperlink here. So if you click on it, you get these standard options. All right. So let's go back to dev test, and I'll leave it as B1 right now. The reason why we are here is just to show you how you can scale up. On the other hand, there is scale out, which will increase the number of virtual machines that are running your web application, right? So this is set to manual scaling. So where is the auto scaling option? Why we do not have auto scaling option? Well, the reason why I do not have my auto scaling option here is because my app service plan does not support automatic scaling. Well, let's go back and see. So I'll click on scale up, and the option that I've selected is B1, which just supports manual scale. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to go to production and choose S1, which is supporting auto scaling. Every pricing tier under the production will support auto scaling. Yeah. So regardless of standard or premium, they're all supporting auto scaling. It's just the number of instances that auto scaling supports will change. For example, the premium will support 20 instances, whereas the standard will support 10 instances. And if you go to isolated from your memory, can you recollect how many instances does isolated support? Well, isolated supports up to 100 instances. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is select S1, click on apply, and change my app service plan to S1 standard. Once that's done, I'll go to scale out, and then now you see that there's a custom auto scale option. So I can write my own policies and rules that will trigger the scaling. Let's see how that works. So I'll click on custom scale, scroll down to the bottom a little bit. So this is my auto scaling name. Okay, it's a randomly generated scaling name. You can type your own as well, and then select the resource group for this. Now we've got two options: scale based on metric and scale to a specific instance count. So when should it scale? When should it create new virtual machines? So that is something you define in a rule. So I just clicked on this add rule option and something popped up on the right hand side. So what you can do is configure these scaling options. Okay. So there are different metrics that you can look at. By default, it selects CPU, but then you can say data in, data out, disk queue, and all the options that you have. So let's say I'm selecting or leaving it as CPU percentage and then scroll down to the bottom. So by selecting or leaving it as 70, I'm saying that if the CPU goes above 70%, create one instance. Okay. And that create one instance is something that you select here. So based on these values and fields that are there, you're saying that if the CPU is greater than 70 and the CPU utilization stays or goes above 70 for approximately 10 minutes, then increase the count by one instance. All right, that's what auto scaling does. So let's say there's a lot of traffic hitting your web application because there's a sale time and people are buying a lot of products from your web application that you built on Azure App Services. And because of that, the infrastructure behind the scenes for the web app, which is the app service plan, eats up all the CPU and memory, right? So when the CPU reaches this threshold, you're going to increase the number of virtual machines by the number that you define here. Okay, so that's what it is. And then there is cooldown period of 5 minutes. What does that mean? It means that for this period of time, the entire auto scaling will be shut down. So once an instance is created, right, it will take some time to come into production. There may be certain scripts running in the background. The virtual machine does not just appear or pop up like magic. It takes some time because the services behind the scenes must start, the scheduled tasks that are running must start, and must participate in the actual web traffic. And for that, you need some time, and that duration is something that you're specifying here, right? So once a VM is spin up, it will not do any further auto scaling for the next 5 minutes, is cooldown period. All right, so I'll just click on add at this time, and then you got other options like minimum, maximum, and default. So the minimum number of instances that will stay in the app service plan is 1, and the maximum it can go up to is 2. So let's say if I type 20 here, will it let me go beyond that? No, because my app service plan does not support 20. Okay, so I'll switch it back to 10, which it will gracefully accept. Okay, so minimum is the minimum number of instances you have in the app service plan, and the maximum is the maximum number of instances that can be provisioned as a result of auto scaling. All right, so let's click on save. This will update the entire configuration, although doesn't take much time. It is pretty quick. So these are the scale up and scale out options. Hopefully you've understood this. If you have your own lab environment, an Azure test account, go ahead and look at these options, look around these radio buttons and understand what each checkbox means, what each radio button means, and that way you become a better Azure administrator. In the next lesson, let's go ahead and learn more about these features, for example, deployment slots and deployment center as well, which is very important from a development perspective.